Agradecemos a los organizadores del Congreso y a las autoridades habernos convocado para esta actividad. El tema del simposio va a ser la lactancia en duelo, la leche humana donada en madres en duelo. Es un tema sensible y relevante para todos los profesionales de la salud que asistimos a bebés y familias durante el periodo perinatal, neonatal y en seguimiento. Tenemos el honor de contar con el doctor Nicholas Embleton como disertante invitado. El doctor Embleton es profesor de medicina neonatal con amplio portfolio de investigación sobre nutrición, leche humana, con vasta trayectoria y más de 250 publicaciones. Como ya ha sido presentado en otras conferencias, voy a destacar los estudios que se cruzan con nuestro tema de hoy. Estudios cualitativos sobre experiencias de madres y padres que sufrieron la pérdida perinatal de un bebé en un embarazo múltiple. Estudios estos que dieron lugar al excelente proyecto Mariposa, que fue adoptado ampliamente en todo el Reino Unido y también en otros países. Y también los estudios y capacitaciones sobre lactancia luego de la pérdida perinatal y experiencias sobre la donación de leche materna, que será parte del tema de hoy. El duelo perinatal y la lactancia en duelo son situaciones que están empezando a ser visibilizadas, pero todavía la realidad es que son silenciadas en muchos de los equipos de salud. Tenemos en nuestro país y también en otros países latinoamericanos experiencias de trabajos en servicios, sobre todo de neonatología, interdisciplinarios, donde se trabaja con la lactancia en duelo y con la donación de leche materna. Pero debo decir que son experiencias aisladas, que no hay consensos generalizados, ni tampoco políticas que las sostengan ampliamente como para que esto pueda funcionar de manera equitativa y generalizada. Podemos decir también que enfrentarse con la lactancia sin hijo es una situación que vuelve a golpear un psiquismo ya vulnerabilizado fuertemente por haber transitado una de las peores situaciones que puede transitar una madre, que es la pérdida de un hijo. Con lo cual se hace muy necesario el apoyo psicológico, pero además el apoyo de todo el equipo interdisciplinario, sensibilizado y capacitado para poder informar sobre las diferentes opciones que existen para la lactancia en duelo, poder acompañar a las madres en esas decisiones informadas, respetadas y acompañadas. Tenemos la suerte de contar con lo que va a contar el doctor Embleton, que además me parece a mí que reúne una cualidad muy importante, y es que es un representante de la medicina que se ha abierto para escuchar un otro dolor, que es el dolor emocional, que ha investigado las necesidades y deseos de las madres en esas situaciones y que se ha dedicado también a capacitar a los equipos para que después ellos también puedan empezar a escuchar, a acompañar, a informar empáticamente y sobre todo respetar el derecho que es de la madre de decidir qué es lo que quiere hacer con su leche. Así que, Nick, te damos la bienvenida y te escuchamos.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Thank you very much to Alsepnio for inviting me to your wonderful conference. So in the next 30 to 40 minutes, I want to talk to you about lactation after loss, and specifically the mothers who may choose to express milk and donate it in memory of their baby. And so we call this Memory Milk Gift Initiative. The idea that the mother's milk is a gift that she can give to other babies. Next slide, please. I need the next slide. Okay. So we've developed a training course in the UK that is freely accessible on a platform called FutureLearn. And you can access this course. It's just 2 hours of learning. And so you can do this for free. But if you want to get a certificate, you have to pay a small amount of money. And this course was developed with nurses and lactation consultants and parents. And I'm going to show you a few of the graphics and information from the course. Next slide. So before I start to show you the experiences of a woman who started this process with us 3 years ago now, I want you just to imagine this case scenario. So here is a woman who is 22 years old in her first pregnancy. She has never breastfed, she has no partner, and she has a history of depression 3 years ago. She's not on any medication, and she has just suffered a stillbirth at 38 weeks. And the following day, day 1, she says to the nurses, I would like to start lactating so that I can donate my milk to other babies. So what I want to do is just give you 1 or 2 minutes to discuss with the person sitting next to you, or maybe just think in your head, what do you think about this concept? Do you think there are risks for the mother? Do you think it will affect her mental health? Do you think it will be a good thing or a bad thing? Do you think she will be able to manage to establish lactation? And would you, as a health professional, be happy to support her in achieving this? So I just want to give you 2 minutes to have a little conversation with the person sat next to you and just think yourself, do you think this is a good idea? Or do you think this is maybe a bit risky? So, 2 minutes and then I will start talking some more.
¿Alguien quisiera comentar respecto a lo que señala Nick?
Hola, ¿qué tal? Creo que hay algo que escuchar en la necesidad de esta madre, en esta situación, de su deseo, ¿no?, de continuar, que a su vez es inseparable de lo que le pasa a nivel orgánico, ¿no?, de sentir sus pechos de tal forma, de también del deseo de quizás de concretarlo o no. Creo que es válido también poder escuchar esto.
Thank you.
Ella misma darse la oportunidad de seguir reivindicando su estado de ser madre, ¿sí? Y de ofrecer de alguna forma, sabemos la leche materna es un tejido vivo, y de ofrecer vida a otros bebés, y de esa forma sanarse, curar esos brazos vacíos.
A mí me parece genial si la mamá lo pide. Nosotros la nombramos a la mamá, pero bueno, fue una mujer gestante que por ahí no pudo disfrutar de esta maternidad. Pero sí sería bueno un acompañamiento, porque esto moviliza muchísimo. Y uno sabe el estado hormonal, social, el tener que enfrentarse con otros sin el bebé a UPA, ¿no? Esto como que puede impactar muy fuerte, ¿no? Pero si lo pide y es parte de una vivencia que quiere poder transitar, es genial. No es muy difundido a veces el tema de uno donar su leche, ¿no? Aunque sea bebé nacido vivo o muerto, no se fomenta mucho. Acá en Argentina hay muchos espacios para poder fomentar la lactancia y, digamos, la donación de leche. Pero es como muy de lo privado, ¿no? Y es importante poder darle este espacio a muchas mamás que lo sienten y que es un modo de transitar el duelo también, pienso.
Yo creo que hay, por supuesto, que respetar la decisión de esta mamá, pero sí también considero que debería ser acompañado por la interdisciplina, la psicología perinatal. Todos sabemos que la muerte perinatal implica un golpe al psiquismo de características con potencialidad traumática. Con lo cual, y habiendo cursado una depresión previamente, sí debería haber un acompañamiento por psicólogos perinatales como para que esa mamá pueda cumplir con su deseo de la mejor manera posible.
Great, thank you. So can you show the first video, please? The next slide and play the video. So I have a video that we made with one of the mothers, who was one of the first mothers to come forward. And I will just let you listen to it. We have Spanish subtitles. So.
Hi, my name's Holly and I donated my milk after my son passed away at 41 weeks. He was stillborn. Whilst in hospital, no one told me or explained to me that I could donate my milk, something that my body was going to start producing, because even though my son had passed away, he was still going to be born, and my body thought that he needed to be fed. Whilst I was waiting for the induction medication to work, which takes 48 hours, I started doing some research about baby loss, about what my body was going to go through. And somewhere I stumbled across the fact that I could donate my milk, that I could donate Bodhi's milk. Straight away, I knew it was something that I wanted to do. I wanted to do in his name. I wanted something that I'd made for him to go to other babies, to help other families not go through what I was going through, what I have gone through, and what I still am going through. All the hospital did was offer me medication to stop my milk. And to be honest, when I told them that I was going to donate my milk, some of my family and some of the consultants and midwives, they were concerned for my mental health. But actually, it was the best thing for my mental health. It gave me a reason to look after myself in a really dark time when otherwise I'm not really sure what I would have done. Who knows? Maybe donating milk in a way saved my life. Because it really did make myself, cook myself meals and, you know, be hygienic. Little things that most people take for granted, but when you're going through grief, it doesn't come naturally to want to look after yourself. So I'm really grateful that I came across the milk bank at Chester, because I tried a few other milk banks before and none of them wanted to work with me. In fact, one of them said that they couldn't offer me the pastoral help that I needed. No one needed to give me pastoral help. I was going to be grieving regardless. Still am grieving, will be forever grieving. I just wanted to donate my milk. I wanted to donate Bodhi's milk. I wanted him to leave a positive mark on this planet like I always had hoped that he would. And through my milk, through his milk, through donating with the milk bank at Chester, his name lives on. He is a little light in a sometimes dark world. His milk helped potentially hundreds of families not go through the pain that I still go through. I just want hospitals to inform all families of milk donation. And even though it seems like a really hard thing to do when a family has lost something so precious, actually it can provide a little bit of hope, and that you don't always have to tread on eggshells. Sometimes a bit of information can really lift a shattered heart just a little bit, like it did for me. So, thank you for listening.
So in the course, we've developed the course to teach doctors and nurses some things that maybe you do not get teaching in medical school. So we talk about the anatomy of the breast, we talk about the development of lactogenesis 1, 2, and 3. We discuss some of the hormonal control of lactation. Next slide. So we talk about, what is it that provides the stimulus to feed, to lactate and have the letdown of milk. But we want to emphasize that donating milk is only one option. And many women will not choose this option. So we do not want to push or encourage mothers to donate. Many women will not want to donate, but some women will. And we believe that our job as a health professional is to explain the options available to the mother and then let the mother decide. Does she want to have passive suppression of lactation? Does she want a drug for lactation suppression? Or does she want to consider expressing and donating her milk? So there are 3 options. And our job is to tell mother about these 3 options and ask her which one does she want to learn more about. So we do not want to push the mothers to donate, but we want to say this is an option. Next slide, please. So we do talk in the course about some of the methods of supporting a mother who wants to passively stop lactation, the importance of analgesia, avoiding mastitis. And we talk about some of the drugs that are used. In the UK, we use a drug called cabergoline, which has some side effects, but is really very safe. But one of the things that I learned was that if you use cabergoline or a drug, you're stopping prolactin immediately. And of course, prolactin is the hormone that makes you feel happy and positive about life. So maybe it's not surprising that after a stillbirth, and you then take a drug, that you feel very depressed because you've blocked the natural hormone that makes you feel better. Next slide. So she finds a milk bank and they agree to support her. What do you think is her motivation for doing this? So again, I just give you 1 or 2 minutes and then we can hear some feedback. Just have a think. What do you think Carolina is hoping to gain by donating her milk?
¿Alguien quieren preguntar? Yo voy a dar mi opinión. Yo pienso que buena parte de las madres que pierden a su hijo y donan la leche piensan que es una forma de perpetuar la vida de su hijo, aunque sea unos días más. Mantener viva su memoria, mantener viva su presencia y dejar un legado. La misma, no sé si ella se llamaba Carolina, pero la misma señora pensaba que su hijo había sido casi mantenido vivo durante todo el tiempo en que ella donó. Es mi apreciación.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Yo creo que para Carolina es muy importante esto de todo ha sido negativo en su experiencia como mamá. No pudo ser mamá, no pudo nacer su bebé, no le pudo dar la teta. Entonces, creo que hay algo positivo en esto. Es lo único que ella ve como positivo, como algo que sí se puede, que puede seguir haciendo y que quizá deje algo y que ella pueda hacer, porque con su bebé no pudo hacer nada y no pudo detener esta muerte y esta pérdida. Entonces, lo que sí va a poder hacer en positivo y sí va a poder generar es alimento y quizás sea para otro bebé. Quizá no es para su hijo, pero sí es para otro bebé y como alimento y como tenía que ser. Y esto ella lo puede puede tener voluntad en esto. Ella en este sentido, ella puede elegir, lo demás no lo pudo elegir. Eso me parece.
Yep. Thank you. So next slide, please. So if you read the psychological literature on grief, people will explain that grief is very fluid. What you feel the first day is different from the second day, the next week, the next month. The way you feel about grief is ever changing. And many of you here will have experienced your own loss or your own grief. Maybe your parents, maybe some of you have also had a baby loss or a miscarriage. And you know that when you suffer grief, you never forget it. You never stop feeling sad about the baby or your parents. But you learn to make it part of your life. It becomes part of who you are to deal with the grief. And so I think you're right that women see this as an opportunity of turning something bad maybe into something good. And there is this continuing bonds theory of grief. This idea that we need to be bonded, we need to be connected with the person who died to somehow make sense of our lives. Next slide. People have talked about the idea that donating milk allows you to adopt a transformative identity. That you start your pregnancy as an expectant mother, you're happy, you're excited, you're going to be a mother. And then when your babies die, you're a bereaved mother, and that is awful. And that maybe donating milk allows you to adopt this transformative identity. It allows you to move from one identity to the next identity. Nobody wants to be a bereaved mother. It's the worst thing in the world, but you have no choice. And maybe this transformative identity helps women move from the happy state to being a mother whose baby died. Next slide. So we spoke to lots of parents to understand what it felt like to be involved in the process. And we wanted to listen to them after they had been a donor to hear more about what it felt like. And also we wanted to hear from the fathers, what does it feel like when your wife has suffered a miscarriage or a stillbirth or a neonatal death? How do you feel as the father? And how do you feel when you see your wife producing milk to go to somebody else's baby? So next slide.
Hello, I'm Oliver, and this is my wife, Abby. We lost our son, Francis, when he was 6 months old, unexpectedly back in 2019. We just wanted to take a few minutes to talk about our donation after loss journey.
So after Francis had passed away and we were in the hospital, I said partway through the discussions that I was full and ready to feed again. Francis actually passed away while he was feeding, so this is about 4 hours later I was ready to feed him again. Obviously with Francis being 6 months, breastfeeding was a huge part of our life and what we did every day. And I was brought a breast pump and told that I was going to be given tablets to dry up the milk, and that would take about 2 weeks. Immediately I said that's not really something that I wanted. Obviously breastfeeding was something I was hugely proud of, a huge part of my identity as a mum. And I felt almost like that was being snatched away. A couple of weeks earlier, coincidentally, I had seen a social media post about donating breast milk, not after loss, but just milk sharing. And I asked if that was something that I could do with Francis's milk.
I think something that really strikes me looking back is that the one sort of little bit of support that we did get in that time, that when I look back really did make a big difference, was that the next day we had a breastfeeding midwife come out to Abby's parents' house where we were staying at the time, and got Abby all set up with a pump, but took time to talk about Francis and check in with us. She was with us for a good hour, and then a few weeks later she was back again checking in. And I think that was really important for us looking back.
Yeah, I think in terms of the information that we were given initially about donating, it wasn't great. We were given an out-of-date phone number for the milk bank. It took my mum a lot of phoning around and digging to find the information to donate to the milk bank. I think there was a lot of apprehension on whether it was the right thing to do for me, and I was told initially, okay, do it for a couple of weeks and slowly let the milk dry up that way. And it was one of those things I kind of said, okay, then, with the intention of knowing that I just had to carry on expressing the milk for the time being.
I think me sort of observing all that happen, it was very quickly apparent how important donating milk was going to be for Abby. I think in those months after we lost Francis, Abby was definitely at her lowest point in terms of her mental health, but donating milk really gave her purpose in that time, when essentially what was her entire identity, being a mum, was lost or taken away from her. I think donating milk really helped give her purpose. She had to get up, she had to eat, she had to shower every day, she had to check the temperature of the freezer every day. So it gave her responsibility that she wouldn't otherwise have.
Yeah, I think I was
forced her to look after herself.
Quite strict with myself as well, wasn't I? I wouldn't express milk in bed. It made me get out of bed to do it, and kept me in a routine.
The pump was always kept downstairs, so just to force the action of some movement and some routine.
Yeah, I had absolutely no appetite and no reason to keep going, really, other than the fact that I had to express milk, and it really did give me purpose. I've always seen it as Francis's milk and a gift that he left. He enabled me to have that milk and built up such a good milk supply that he enabled us to pass that gift on. And it very much feels to us like a part of Francis's legacy, and continuing this work with the memory milk gift as well. It very much feels like still parenting Francis in a way that we can.
Yeah.
So these are just some quotes from some of the other mothers. Donating milk after Evie died gave me a purpose, a reason to wake up each day and keep going, a legacy that Evie left behind to help other people. Next slide. Being able to donate milk in his memory helped me through my grief and the worst time in my life. Family and health professionals showed concern when I said I wanted to donate, but actually it turned out to be the best thing for my mental health. Next slide. I understand why no one wants to talk about lactation after loss, but how dare they play God by not discussing choices that are available to our family. Next slide. So we recognize that there are lots of other people that will impact on the mother's decision. Of course, her partner, but also her parents. Maybe the decision is difficult if you have other children in the family who may be confused about why the mother is expressing milk. And of course, the decision that mothers make in Newcastle, in England with me, may be different from all of your different countries. We realize that breastfeeding has a very strong cultural element to it. So I can imagine that in some of your countries, this will feel quite easy to promote, and in other settings, this may be very challenging indeed. We came up with these simple things just to remember when we're having the thought. We think about the importance of involving all of the family members, having an open discussion, reviewing what this means and making sure the mother really understands, going back and exploring the other options of suppression if this is what she wants. The importance of validating and acknowledging the feelings that the mother has. The importance of empathy, and of course the importance of respect, that we come from very culturally diverse settings and we should not judge women for the decisions they make, even if they're different from the decisions that we think we might make for ourselves. Next slide. So there are lots of challenges, lots of entrenched opinions and biases, a lot of fear and uncertainty. I noticed that this is an entirely female audience. And when I talk about these things, always it's women who turn up. The male neonatologists don't want to know about this. But all of us need to be aware. And for some of us, this is a more difficult conversation. It's more difficult for me as a senior neonatologist to have this conversation than it is for a younger nurse. But still, I must be educated and prepared to answer questions and support the mother and even be involved in some of these decisions. So there were lots of more things that you can learn in the course. As I say, if you go to the course, if you use Google Chrome and translate facility, you can translate it all into Spanish now, so this should be fine. And as I say, lots of other information for families about why they chose to do this and what it means to them. Next slide. So the final discussion, she's found a milk bank and they're going to say yes, they want to support her. Are there any contraindications? Are there any reasons why she should not be able to donate? How are you going to help this mother? What do you need to know? I mean, where does she get the equipment? And how often should she express her milk? So now go back to the other slide. Yeah. And how long do you expect her to donate? Days or weeks or months? What do you think she should do? So I want again just to give you a minute and then I can have some feedback from you. What do you think about these questions here?
Hola, ¿qué tal? A ver, el tema que nombraste recién de las brechas de implementación es muy importante, tanto de la teoría a la práctica como de la información de lo que debiera ser a lo que en realidad es. Yo creo que el tiempo que debe donar, dado que ha tenido la predisposición para donar, es mientras pueda hacerlo, mientras pueda tener una leche de calidad, tiene que donar hasta que ella sienta la necesidad de hacerlo. Digo, el eje debería estar puesto en esa mamá que atraviesa con la donación una de las etapas del duelo, porque durante esa donación está atravesando una etapa fundamental del duelo, que es salir de la negación para entender lo que está atravesando.
Hola, concuerdo con lo que decía la colega. El tiempo considero que sería el tiempo que ella desee o quiera realizarlo, pero si esa leche se va a donar para que otro niño la reciba, también va a ser estudiada y ahí también entran todos los factores que uno preguntaría, ¿no? Si fuma, si toma medicación, serologías, etcétera. eso puede llegar a ser un motivo por el cual no vaya a ser utilizada en un banco de leche. Ahí no sé, por ahí la mamá, cómo se manejaría esa situación de que por ahí, como parte del duelo, quiera seguir extrayéndose, por ahí no va para el banco de leche, no lo sé cómo sería ese camino, pero bueno, el tiempo creo que lo que ella necesita, desea o quiera, y después estudiar la calidad de esa leche donada.
Pienso que es importante que sea el tiempo que ella lo desee y pueda, pero debe tener acompañamiento, porque tampoco la idea es que ella perpetúe su maternidad por siempre. Entonces debe tener un apoyo durante todo ese tiempo, psicológico, familiar, etcétera.
Sí, hasta dónde impera el deseo y cuándo se impone un encapsulamiento de ese duelo también, ¿no? Entonces sí creo que debería haber un acompañamiento siempre también de un psicólogo, y en términos de otros apoyos, pensando que es una mamá sin pareja, ¿no? Estamos hablando de Carolina. Sí me parece que sería muy importante para el equipo que está con ella preguntar también sobre el soporte objetivo y el percibido, porque no es lo mismo contar con un soporte objetivo, pero si no es percibida para ella como compañía, ¿no? Me parece que eso también sería importante no dejar de lado.
Bueno, hay varias preguntas ahí, ¿no? Dice, bueno, aspectos logísticos, obviamente, ¿cómo entrenarla a ella la extracción? ¿Tiene un ambiente en su casa para la extracción, para la congelación, para el transporte? Vamos a ir toda esa parte logística. Ese banco está preparado para llevarla, para hacer todo el acompañamiento de llevarla, transportar la leche. Bueno, son todas cuestiones logísticas del mismo banco también, pero también que ella se preguntaría cuál va a ser no solamente mi apoyo psicológico en esto que estoy pasando, sino cómo poderlo hacer bien y seguro para otras mamás y para esos bebés que van a recibir la leche.
Thank you. We could discuss this all afternoon, and you know, many of you know more about this than me. Many of you have probably supported more women than I have, so it's great to have a discussion. I think you can all see how complicated this can be. We need to think about the logistics, we need to think about supporting the mother, we need to think about the mother's home environment. So there are lots of things that we need to be aware of. At the same time, the mothers that I've spoken to, it seemed actually quite straightforward. They knew what they wanted to do, they knew how they were going to do it. They did not need any more support than the women who chose not to donate. In fact, they seemed much more able to grieve and come to terms with their loss than the women who were not donating. So I agree there were lots of complex issues to sort out that all of you need to think about in your own different settings. Next slide, please. So there are lots of contraindications. These do vary a little bit. So obviously if you've had a transplant or a blood transfusion, that's generally prohibited to donate. Smoking and illegal drug use, obviously that's prohibited. The issue about caffeine and tattoos, I think, changes between milk banks, but obviously you need to be aware of the specific contraindications for your local milk bank. Next slide. We have this lovely system with the milk bank where they make this wooden pebble and they send it to the mothers as a kind of small gift. And we have this tree, and the mothers, if they want, can put the name of their baby who died on the tree, and then we have this tree at the beginning for the donor milk bank. Because as you heard from the mother before, naming is very important. So making sure the baby has a name and that we say the name, we talk about the baby by name is very important to these women. Next slide. I want, just at the end here to emphasize the importance of fathers. fathers are often seen as, of course, very important in the process of grief, but they're very much seen as supportive, logistical. The father will make sure the house is running. The father will make sure he does the shopping and he cleans the house and he sorts the children. So fathers are very much seen by health professionals as a kind of supporter, somebody who's there to help the mother. But of course, these fathers need care as well. They're not just there to provide transactional support, do the shopping, whatever. It's their baby who died as well. So it's very important that we make sure that the father's care needs are addressed. Because as somebody mentioned before, of course there can be issues, increased risks of domestic violence after a stillbirth. And so making sure that we understand the needs of the fathers, rather than just expecting them to be the supporter for the mother, we need to understand the fathers better. Next slide. And men probably grieve differently. Women generally are much more expressive. It's much more acceptable for a woman to cry after her baby died. But, you know, for men, and of course this has a big cultural element. I'm aware that in Latin America, the influence of machismo and how a man would cope with loss is perhaps very different to other societies. So we need to understand the care that the fathers need, as well as the support that they may provide. Next slide. So since this has been running, over 450 families have contacted the milk bank. Some of these mothers did not provide very much milk. Sometimes it was difficult for them to establish full lactation. But other women donated for several weeks or months, and we know that over 1,000 litres of milk bank in the last 2 years has come from mothers whose babies died. So that's a huge provision, and that would provide milk for hundreds of babies. So this is really a very successful initiative. Next slide. So I want to emphasize this is about offering an informed choice. It's not about promoting a specific strategy. We all need to respect parents, diversity. We need to be professional. We need to recognize the cultural aspects, the religious aspects, the importance of friends and families in the mother's decision, and the opportunities and challenges that are presented to the women who choose to donate. So they gain many opportunities, but they also face many challenges as well. Next slide. So I'd like to encourage all of you to do the course. It's only 2 hours, it's free. I want you to discuss it when you go back to your own hospital. Speak to other people, because the more people who speak about it, the more people who know about it, then you can start to develop your own protocols and guidelines and teach people about it. And obviously make contact with your milk banks, understand the logistical aspects. How can we make this work in our hospital? But also support research, because we need to understand what this means to the women better. We understand some of it, but we've not done a lot of qualitative research. We need to understand the motivation for women. We need to be reassured that this is not bad for their mental health. It doesn't seem like that, but we need more data. And so all of you, again, I would encourage all of you to conduct your own research in your own hospitals. How many times do you discuss this with the women? Are all the women offered an opportunity? If they choose to donate, how long do they do it for? What was good, what was bad? Because then you can learn how to make this work better in your own settings. And I'm going to finish there, and thank you very much for your attention.
Muchísimas gracias, Nick, por la presentación. Para nosotros y para todos los que estamos escuchando ha sido conmovedor escuchar los relatos de estas mujeres, de estas familias que de alguna manera han encontrado un camino en este tránsito del duelo, y nos interpela también como profesionales de la salud mental para poder brindar efectivamente todas las opciones disponibles y que sean las mujeres y sus familias quienes efectivamente tomen una decisión en relación a su propia experiencia. Vamos a dar unos minutitos para preguntas. Sabemos que hay muchas preguntas, así que vamos a generar ahí este espacio.
Más que una pregunta, hacer un comentario respecto de lo que hablabas de la necesidad de comprender. En Latinoamérica la educación médica sigue siendo dominada por un modelo biológico, hegemónico, que dificulta el rol del médico desde un espacio más empático para el paciente. No nos enseñan a atravesar el duelo. A los profesionales de la salud no nos enseñan a atravesar el duelo. Atravesamos una facultad en la cual nos enseñan a curar y salvar. Entonces, no curar y no salvar implica fracasar. Y ante el fracaso viene la huida, no el acompañamiento. Es decir, esa falta de educación holística, de educación integral, para los que atravesamos una facultad, lesiona en cierta manera la relación médico-paciente. Entonces, no estamos acostumbrados a entender la muerte como un proceso de final de vida, sino como un tabú, que sigue siendo un tabú, no sé cuál es el término apropiado en inglés, pero la realidad es que creo que hiciste mucho hincapié en algo que para mí es sumamente relevante, no lo puedo evitar, soy docente universitario, entonces el tema de la educación es fundamental. A veces los médicos olvidamos que educar también implica educar a la población. Entonces, educar es educarnos todos en entender que la muerte forma parte de lo que tenemos que vivir. Y a partir de ahí poder relacionarnos mejor con ese proceso y con todo lo que rodea ese proceso. Así que muy agradecida, muy movilizadora, muy movilizador escuchar a esa mamá y ver esas lágrimas. Así que muchas gracias.
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, I just want to just quickly say, I mean, I've been a neonatologist for 30 years, and I became a neonatologist because it was exciting to look after small babies. 500 grams, 400 grams, intubate, ventilators, echo scans. I've done 30 years of nutrition research. I've published lots and lots of papers. But none of those really make the difference, the impact that understanding the qualitative aspects and understanding the empathy. And nobody is more surprised than I am that I became interested in people's feelings. I'm not a touchy-feely person, right? People would say, oh, he's a little bit on the spectrum, you know, he's a bit kind of nerdy, scientific-y. But I've come to learn how important this is, because the way that you behave to that mother for those few minutes affects that mother for the next 60 years. Nothing else you do in your medical practice has that impact. So we have to learn better how to express empathy and not be scared of it. I think you're right, people want to run away. But actually, if you lean into it, it becomes a bit easier because you don't have to be scared. And I'm proof of that, because 30 years ago, I wanted nothing to do with people crying and empathy. But now I understand how important it is to be involved in that. So thank you for the comment. Yeah.
Vamos a ir con la última pregunta porque estamos en los tiempos, así que, por favor.
Bueno, gracias por la exposición. Nos preguntábamos con mi compañera si químicamente en el componente de la leche de una mamá de duelo es diferente a una que no lo está.
So one of the benefits of the milk bank that we work with is that they have a research team, and people have looked at the composition of breast milk, and there do not seem to be any significant differences at all. So in terms of macronutrients, micronutrients, the composition seems the same. I imagine that hormones and enzymes will also be the same. One of the advantages, but it's quite sad, but one of the advantages is that if the mother expresses after a stillbirth, you get the early milk with higher concentrations of lactoferrin, higher concentrations of antibodies and other immune properties. You know that over the first 2 weeks, the composition of milk changes, so that at 2 or 3 weeks of age, the composition is different. But when we have a mother who is expressing after a stillbirth, we're getting almost the best milk that you could get. It still needs pasteurization. But all the data we have is that the composition for all of the nutrients is pretty much what we'd expect. Thank you.
Bien, muchas gracias nuevamente a todos quienes participaron de este simposio. Muy agradecida, Nick. Thank you so much for presentation.
Thank you.